Okay, Lamed Hey Amud Aleph 35a. We get to a few more laws related to Tefillin, some of which are, as before, Halacha l'Moshe Sinai, laws that were passed down from Hashem to Moshe Rabbeinu, and then from Moshe Rabbeinu in a straight line down to us, as opposed to laws which are ordinarily derived by exegesis. Isn't that what it's called?
Exegesis.
Sorry?
Exegesis.
Exegesis. Exegesis, yeah. When you extrapolate from the text. Okay. Sorry?
Don't mention that name.
It's a word, not a name.
Not Exodus.
Okay. So we are V'amar Abaye. The line starts the word of V'amar Abaye. It's about a third from the top of the page. Lamed Hey Amud Aleph 35a. The line starts the word V'amar. Yeah. V'amar Abaye. Abaye said, Hi Kilfa Tefillin, this cloth, this parchment upon which a tefillin will be written, Zarech L'mivdike, should be checked before one begins to write it, examined. For what reason? De Dilma, perhaps. Isper Yusa, there's some problem in there, a hole, perforation, and we want the writing to be whole, complete, and nice. And if there's some holes in your parchment, then it's a problem. Veleka, and you don't have nice writing. Rav Dimi ben Ardar says, you don't have to check it before. Kulmasa badikle, the actual pen, your feather, your quill, will check it as you're writing. You don't have to examine it before, but as you're writing, you'll discover if there's a problem. Okay. He's talking about whether it's required or not. Meaning, in Abaye's view, one might argue that if you didn't check your tefillin, you didn't check the parchment before, even if it turned out okay, it's invalid or something. Because you have to check it before. I'm saying you don't have to check it, because as you're writing it, it gets checked.
But at the same time, once you begin writing, you will have already, as you say...
You'll have wasted ink, you'll have wasted time. Yes, I guess, in other words, maybe Abaye is saying, good advice, check it before so you don't find it a problem later. That's also possible.
Actually, it takes so much time. It's little writing.
Takes time, yeah. Okay. Amr Bitzchak says, Retzues, the straps of the tefillin, shchayres must be black. Halacha l'Moshe Misin, this is the law that's derived or was passed down from Moshe at Sinai. So the straps must be black by Torah, by law, by God's law that was given to Moshe Rabbeinu and passed down to us. So let's finish the discussion here, and then we'll talk a little bit about the halacha as we practice it. Meisvei, the following objection was raised. I think I mentioned this before. The word meisvei is an objection that is cited from a text greater than the one speaking. So the one speaking here is Rabbi Yitzchak, who is presumably, or is a sage of the Amaraic age, of the Gemara age, and the Gemara is now quoting a text from the Mishnaic age. And the Mishnaic age text reads as follows: Tefillin, one's tefillin, en kirshen oisan, they should not be bound up, ella b'minon, only in that which is of its same material. So the tefillin itself is made of leather, made of animal hide, kosher animal hide. So the straps, that which you are tying with, right, kosher, in kosher oisan, one cannot tie the tefillin. So this is the tefillin. Now it's being tied with something, so it must be tied with the same material of the tefillin itself, namely kosher leather from a kosher animal. But then the text continues: Ben yerakos, whether it's green; Ben shchayros, whether it's black; Ben levanos, whether it's white. So this Mishnaic age text implies that the straps could be yellow, black, white, and yet earlier Rabbi Yitzchak said that's halacha from Moshe Sinai. It's a tradition back to Moshe Rabbeinu that the straps must be black. And right there is the contradiction. But before the Gemara resolves the contradiction, the Gemara finishes quoting the original text from where this contradiction was cited, from where this challenge was cited. And the text continues to read: Adumos, red straps, lo yasa, that one should not do. So you can use any color except for red. What's wrong with red? Because it's there's a bit of shame associated with red. How is that? So Rashi explains it because it might lead people to think that he has sores and pimples on his arm, and it's causing his tefillin to go red. So it's not nice, it's not pleasant. So do any other color but red. Likewise with davar acher, perhaps there's some other matter that in the Mishnah's tznius and its modesty. doesn't want to say what the other matter is, and as Rashi explains it, because perhaps he's engaged in relations with his wife while she was during her menstruation, and therefore there's blood around him. Yep, that's what Rashi says. And therefore, one should not have red tefillin, not to raise the suspicion of those around him. It's pretty radical. I guess showers weren't as common back then. I don't know. This is what the Gemara says. Bottom line being that the text here happens to say that tefillin could be any color. The straps, could be any color other than red, because of this issue of shame.
Rabbi said it's got to be black.
That's the question. If we're telling, Rabbi is telling us that the Moshe Rabbeinu says the straps are black, how is this text saying it could be any other color? We'll get to resolving that in a moment, but in the meantime, the Gemara is playing out that text.
Can the ox and the straps be from two different kosher animals, or it has to be the same type of animal?
Good question. I believe that they don't have to be the same type of animal. I believe that they both have to be kosher. I believe so, but I'm not 1,000% sure, so I'm not going to say, but I'm pretty sure. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm not aware of, you can buy tefillin that are made of what's called gasais, like more some of the stronger leather, or of the softer leather, like the cow versus lamb. But I don't know that that ritzuas are offered in different types. I don't know. I shouldn't answer, but I believe they don't have to be the same type.
Same behemoth because
So I'm saying, no, not for sure, not the same animal, but maybe the same animal type. Because beminon, I don't know if it has to be the exact same type, but it just has to be kosher in general. I don't believe it has to be the same type. I'll get back to you, God willing, tomorrow. Or actually, I won't be here tomorrow, maybe the day after. Okay. So Amar Yehuda says, now this text, before we get to resolving the question, the text continues. Amar Yehuda says, Ma'aseh b'Talmid Rabbi Akiva, there's a story of the student of Rabbi Akiva. That which wrap his tefillin with straps of tchelas. Tchelas basically is just not leather. It's a material made with a certain color.
usually it's wool.
Usually wool being. Tchelas is technically a color, but it usually means wool, yes. But the point being, it's not made of leather. Rabbi Akiva didn't say anything to him. Efshar Oisei Tzadik, do you think, is it possible for that righteous one, Rabbi Akiva, this tzaddik, Ra Talmidav, would see his student doing something wrong, and wouldn't stop him? So this seems to be a proof that you don't even need to have leather straps. Rabbi Akiva didn't stop his student. So Amar Loi, so the sages told Rabbi Yehuda, it's a great story, but Hein Loi Ra Oisei, it's clear that he did not see him. He didn't see his student doing that with wool straps. V'im Ra Oisei, if he saw him doing that, he would not let him do it. So the fact that it happened to a student, you're going to bring a proof from the teacher that the student did something. He didn't see him. But clearly the tefillin cannot be made of leather, cannot be made out of fabric, it must be made out of leather straps. Furthermore, similar story, Ma'aseh b'Horkanus b'Noisha b'Lezer ben Hyrcanus. There's a story of Hyrcanus, son of Rebbe Lezer, son of Hyrcanus. So Hyrcanus is named after his grandfather. And this Hyrcanus, the second one, he would tie his tefillin of another kind of material called argamon. It's another kind of wool. And Rebbe Lezer didn't say anything to his son. And again, the same analysis. Would that tzaddik, Rebbe Lezer, see his son putting on tefillin that's not kosher? Wouldn't stop him. They told him, "Hein, must be that he didn't see him tying the tefillin with leather strap, with the wool straps of argamon. If he did see him, he wouldn't let him do it." Okay. Bottom line being, we all agree it's got to be leather, has to be made out of kosher animal hide. But the Mishnah, but we've learned clearly at the beginning of this text, ben yirakis, ben shchayis, ben levanos, that it can be green, black, or white. And yet you said, Rabbi Yitzchak, you said that there's a halacha passed down from Moshe that the straps have to be black. It says Gemara like kasha, no contradiction. Kan b'bifnim, kan b'chutz. When we are told that Moshe Rabbeinu said that the straps of the tefillin must be black, let's talk about the outside of the straps. And when the Mishnah said that the straps can be any color except for red, is talking about the inside of the straps. And indeed, it's often the case. Tefillin straps are black on the outside and white on the inside. Recently, there are some people who will. Oh, let me just finish the text and I'll tell you. Okay, so the Gemara asks, "In b'fnim, if the statement which said that it could be any color with the exception of red. It's talking about the inside of the straps, the side of the straps that are touching your hand, not the outside. My gnai, where's the shame? No one sees it. The davar acher and the problem. Right? In other words, you said before that it could be any color besides for red because there's a shame. No one sees it. Who cares what's on the inside? So the Gemara says there is a problem because zimnin misapchinle. Sometimes the tefillin, the straps turn over and someone sees red and they be like, "Ooh, what's going on with you? Why are your tefillin red?" So keep it every other color but red. Okay. So recently, they're talking about the last maybe 3, 4, 5 years. There's this. People that produce ritzuis, people that produce straps for tefillin, they don't just paint the outside black, which they ordinarily do, but they'll actually soak the straps in black so that through and through it's black, all the way through. And what's the advantage? That if your tefillin cracks, like the outside layer cracks, they'll have white. So what you used to do is you have to paint it over. Right, we have here these markers, black markers with the special ink for tefillin, and you color it black. But if your tefillin are soaked through and through in black, then you never run into a problem of the tefillin cracking and losing its proper coloring. So it's this new initiative, if you will, where they soak the tefillin all the way through black. It's not, I don't know if it's required. I haven't seen it written anywhere that it's even a hider to do it, but it's a thing that people are doing lately. So it's nice. You can ask for it next time you buy a pair of tefillin. I don't think it costs much more. They soak the ritzuis through and through, so you never run into a problem of the discoloration of your tefillin, of your straps. Okay.
So I had beet juice yesterday and had my tefillin on the desk. I should not be aware of spilling something with red on my tefillin. Yes,
you should not be. You should be aware of not spilling anything on your tefillin.
Exactly.
Okay, but to conclude this halacha,
when the tefillin like this, sometimes they
twist.
They twist so the reverse. Does that matter at all? Does it really matter, like if you're davening or saying Shema, that if it's not?
It's supposed to be black facing outward, not the inside facing outward. I don't know if the black on the inside changes that. I'm not sure, but it's supposed to correct it.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking now, there's a disadvantage to doing it, soaking it, because you won't notice. Like
if it's flipped
people
around.
Come over and say,
Yeah.
But they won't notice it.
If it's all black.
You could be done with the whole time with it flipped the other way because it's black.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anyway, to conclude this halacha, so we have here, the Mishnah only talked about, the Gemara only talked about the straps. What about the boxes themselves? Yeah? What about the boxes themselves? So if you look at the bottom left of, the second to last Tosfos in the bottom left, so the big words, Yitzuos Shchayres, black straps, says Tosfos, Yesh Sha'osin, there are those that make Batim Shel Tefillin, the actual compartments of the tefillin itself, not the straps, Miklaf Lavan, from white leather, Deloi Bay Shchayres, because the Gemara does not require black. Al Ratzuis, only the straps. Imagine that, white tefillin. Never seen such a thing, right? The end is that we do have, but if you look at the, no, that's something else, sorry. But the end is that the custom is for Noi Mitzvah. That's what the Rosh says, and the Shulchan Aruch quotes, the Alter Rebbe quotes this. I haven't looked at the Shulchan Aruch, but the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch quotes it, that for Noi Mitzvah, for the tefillin to be most beautiful, it should be black on the outside as well. But it's not halachic required to have outside black. But it's nicer. Because the Gemara doesn't mention anything about the black. So the straps should be black from Moshe Rabbeinu. It doesn't say mention about the boxes. So in theory, they don't have to be black.
Does Moshe speak about the straps only?
Yeah. He only said the straps have to be black. So it seems, at least in the times of Tosfos, that there were those who had white tefillin. Maybe it was too expensive to get ink, and they just kept the leather the natural color. Maybe they thought white was nicer. I don't know. But the halacha remains that no tefillin, the nicest pair of tefillin, is to have black boxes, but it's not as required as black straps. All of this to say that if your straps do start cracking and it's losing its coloring, be aware of it and paint it over black. It's no big deal. If you open the drawer of where the chazan stands up here, you'll find there a pen, like a marker that's meant for tefillin, and you can color in your tefillin should they lose their black coloring. And you could do it on the box as well, if you want to have the Noam mitzvah, the beautiful mitzvah. Okay. Now we get to another halacha, which is a little bit complicated, and there's a little bit of a history around here, and that is how we got to tefillin that are actually square. Where does the square come from? So let's learn the Gemara as literal as possible, even with literal learning you need to have some interpretation. So we'll go with kind of Rashi's way, if you will, and then we'll see what other commentaries have to say, and how the halacha emerged, the tefillin that we have today. Tana we learned in the Mishnaic age text. Tefillin Murubas, square tefillin, halacha l'Moshe Sinai is a law derived from Moshe Rabbeinu. So Moshe Rabbeinu said the tefillin have to be squared. Which part? What part of the tefillin? Amar Papa says, what does it mean when Moshe Rabbeinu said that the tefillin have to be squared? Betafran, in their stitching, uba'alak soinon, and in their angle. In their diagonal, I mean. That means to say, so Papa is saying that when the halacha of Moshe Rabbeinu said that the tefillin have to be square, it's talking about the stitching. You can't really see in the video, but the stitching that goes around here, around the Torah. I think I mentioned this before. This is called bottom compartments. This is Ma'avarta, the bridge, the passageway, and then this is the Torah. So the tefillah, the stitching, has to be square. And the way Rashi says it, in other words, you might learn a puppet to mean that literally the stitching has to be square. That is to say, the width and the length of the stitching should be the exact same. And what does alaksona mean? Their angle means that there's a mathematical equation that if you have a perfect square, then the angle, I think, is 1.25 times the size of the
1.4.
1.4, right?
Square root of 2, yeah.
Right, 1.4.
But the Gemara says 1 2/5 is enough.
Yeah.
In reality, it's 1.41.
So the alaksona, the angle has to be also the proper ratio compared to its square. That is to say, not just that it has corners, but it actually should be actual square, not just the 4 corners. So the simple reading of Papa would mean that the stitching has to be square, the length and the width of the stitching should be the same, and it should come to a corner as opposed to round edge. That's what Papa is saying. Angle plus squared. Rashi adds that not just the stitching has to be square, but the titura, that is to say the base that is being stitched, this titura also has to be square. Because, as Rashi says, if you make the stitching too tight, right, then when you pull too tight, the leather will squeeze at the corners and you'll lose a square. So not only the stitching has to be square, but the titura, the base that's being stitched, also has to be square. Okay. So let's continue now. Lema Mesayayale, perhaps, says our Papa, the Gemara says, let's suggest that the following text is a support to Rav Papa's understanding. Rav Papa said that when Moshe Rabbeinu said that the tefillin have to be square, it's talking about the stitching, and as Rashi said, the Torah, the base that is being stitched. Perhaps the following text is a support to Rav Papa's interpretation. What does it say in the text? One who makes his tefillin round, sakana, it's a danger, ve'ein ba mitzvah, and there's no mitzvah. So you can't make a round, it's not a mitzvah. There's no mitzvah in the round tefillin. Amar Papa says, thank you for bringing this support to me, but it's not really a support, because that is talking about something different, whereas I am talking about something else. And what's that? Amar Papa says, mastis on that text which said that round tefillin lack the mitzvah and they are dangerous. Tavdinam ki amguza. It's like it's someone who made tefillin like an egg, like a nut. I'm sorry, meaning to say that the bottom here is round. It's round like that, meaning that and that's why it's dangerous, because you put it on your head and it's round it's around the bottom, it could puncture your head when you're wearing it because it's sharp. And therefore there's 2 different texts. This text in the Mishnah is talking about flat bottom, whereas I am talking about, and the other Mishnah which said that Moshe Rabbeinu said that has to be square, is talking about the stitching. So at this juncture, would you understand that the bottom up here have to be square? That this has to be square? No?
It could be cylinder.
It could be cylinder here.
As long as the base is
flat
and square.
And this is squared. And indeed, look at the Tosfos on the bottom left. Tefillin Murubois, the last Tosfos on the bottom left. Square tefillin. Yesha ein marbin. There are those who only make it square. Ella, in no other place. Only then, b'makam ma'shavan, in the place where it sits on you. The titurda. The Shemman, perhaps. Perhaps you might think that the compartments up here should also be square when all 4 are put together. And likewise the compartment on your hand, the singular compartment up here, should also be square. But it would seem somewhat to me, says Tosfos, it doesn't necessarily need to be up here square. only in the place of the stitching. So at this juncture you would say, in Rashi and in Tosfos, that this doesn't necessarily need to be square. However, the Mordechai and the Rosh write that no, the Tefillin, when it says that the Tefillin have to be squared, it's not just talking about the Torah, the base, but the actual Tefillin itself. And the Alter Rebbe quotes this, and I think the Mordechai is the one who gave this explanation. In that, yes, because the Gemara said, what was the text of the Mishnah? What did Moshe Rabbeinu said? Tefillin merubais, square tefillin need to be square halacha l'Moshe Sinai. What are tefillin? Which part of this is called tefillin? This is called titura. This is called tefillin. And therefore, when the Mishnah said that tefillin need to be square for Moshe Rabbeinu, it's talking about this, the actual compartments. Now, so what did our Papa mean when he said that the stitching need to be square? He didn't mean to the exclusion of the box. He meant in addition. So the Mishnah said that the Moshe Rabbeinu said that the tefillin themselves need to be square. Comes our Papa and adds, not only the tefillin need to be squared, but also the stitching and the titura, the base upon which is being stitched. The result being that actually all three have to be square. The stitching, the base where the stitching is being done, and the box up here. And that's indeed the halacha. We take all three into consideration. But the reason why I'm telling you this Malum Machlek is because it's interesting, because recently they discovered in Cairo, Geniza, recently as in the last 10 years, maybe 15 years, that they found cylinder tefillin. Tefillin at the top were cylinder and the bottom were square. They actually found it. But now we understand why. Because the Mordechai's language actually is, when he interprets the Gemara to mean, by saying, using this interpretation I just told you, that the Mishnah says that the tefillin have to be square, and tefillin is the compartments, not this. This is called titura. This is tefillin. The compartments of tefillin. And therefore these have to be square. He writes, La fuke, and this is to negate ma'oisen from those sha'oisin which make shel yad, the hand tefillin, betfus igul, in a cylinder press. Meaning to say, in the times of the Mordechai, there actually were people who wore around tefillin, cylinder tefillin. And the Mordechai is telling him, you guys are making a mistake. And likewise, you see Tosfos, which we just read, who said, Yesh, not that you could, he said, Yesh, there are those that make cylinder tefillin. So it seemed, even as far as Mordechai and the Rosh and Tosfos, which means in the 1100s, the 1200s, there were people who actually had cylinder tefillin. And the Tosfos is telling them, maybe I could think that they're right, because maybe your Papa is saying only the stitching needs to be square, but I'm not so convinced it's true. Right? He says, Tzas, somewhat it would seem. The Mordechai straight up says you guys are doing it wrong, but at least you see why they came to that conclusion. Because maybe they were following Rashi's interpretation, where Rashi says that when our Papa said that the stitching have to be square, it meant only the stitching, and not this. So it would explain why we would have found such tefillin. But nonetheless, the Alter Rebbe writes,
Tom doesn't comment?
maybe Tosfos is Rabbeinu Tam speaking. I don't know. It doesn't say who's speaking in the Tosfos. It's possible it's Rabbeinu Tam, or the Ri, or whoever.
Who is Mordechai, by the way?
The Mordechai is a Rishon.
Who?
A Rishon.
A Rishon.
Rishon.
Early Rishon.
Yeah, very early. From the early ones. Good day.
It's ironic that they thought of everything except the size.
Well, because we're not particular about the size. We'll get to that soon. Exactly. But we're not particular that it has to be a certain size, right? If they're just in different sizes of tefillin. It has to fit in a certain place in the head.
There's no requirement for size.
No.
Cylinder this size.
As long as they fit in the head, of course.
As long as it has to fit between a certain place, which
have to be able to write the parchment properly.
has to be big enough to write the parchment properly, and it has to sit in a certain space in the head. If it's too big, it doesn't sit in that part of the head. We'll get to that soon, God willing. But actually, it's interesting to note that you're talking about size, that actually the height doesn't mention anything. Doesn't mention about the height. So in theory, the height can be taller.
Yeah.
It's nicer if they're all completely a cube, but it's not required necessarily. So all this to say, but actually the Alter Rebbe concludes by there's two things I want to add, first of all. So we have three things that need to be square now, following all the interpretations. Number one, the box has to be square, because that's the definition of tefillin. And Moshe Rabbeinu and the Mordechai, following the Mordechai and the Rosh, that because Moshe Rabbeinu said the tefillin has to be square, this is the tefillin. Rav Papa adds that the stitching has to be square. the length and the width of the stitching should be exactly square, and that they should come to corners, meaning you could put the stitching in such a way that it's round. Papa says no, it's got to be square. And the titura, as Rashi said, the actual base that is being stitched also has to be square. So because the base has to be square, we are required to make a cut out here. Right? In other words, in theory, this bridge could have been flush like that, with a hole going through it. But then the titura, the base, would not be recognizable as square, because it would go flush. And therefore we cut out here and here. And the same thing in the shalyad and the hand tefillin. We cut out here and here, so that the base, the titura, that is being stitched, is also square. So there's a lot of halachas we're determining here. The bottom has to be flat, and 3 different parts that have to be square. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to tell you, that Rebbe concludes that because this is an issue of halacha Moshe Sinai, because this is an issue of a law derived from Moshe ben Sinai, and if you're combining all the different versions of the Gemara, then all 3 are, at least according to some opinion, a halacha Moshe Sinai, a law derived from Sinai. Therefore, if any of the 3 are unsquare, it's invalid. We don't say that you rely on the other opinion and you're okay. Not the way it goes. So if top is square, this has to be square, titura and the stitching. Final halacha I want to add is that at least in best case scenario, it's actually square. Although, if it isn't 100% square, but if you can put it into a press and squeeze it to be square, it's still technically kosher. But definitely better if it's actually square. And therefore, in final word, when you get your tefillin checked, so for the majority of the checking is being done on the inside, on the scroll. But you should request, a good cipher knows to do this anyway, a good scribe knows to do this anyway, but you should request that not just the scrolls be checked, but the actual boxes can be checked. So over time, things expand, and you can lose this square of a tefillin. Over time, the bottom becomes rounded, either this way or that way, and you can get it, sanded down to make it nice and flat. All these little halachas are important as we're learning it. Halach l'Moshe Sinai. You should make sure check your tefillin are black. There's even a minimum size of the width of the tefillin. And over time, especially around the knot, tefillin can get tight. Same thing up here, the knot back here. It can lose the straps can lose the proper width. These are all things that can often be looked over because you're looking at the scroll and forgetting that the boxes themselves, as well as the straps, have all these halachas that sometimes can invalidate the tefillin completely, as in the case of the tefillin being properly square. And therefore, when you get your tefillin checked, make sure to request that they check and fix the boxes as well, not just the actual scrolls.
I just had to have my straps fixed.
Changed. Yeah. Every couple of years, you got to change. Every couple of years, you got to change your straps. They especially around the knots. If you tighten them really tight, they stretch and they start to lose their and they lose their proper size. They lose their coloring. So, you can paint it yourself, but at one point it's a good thing to definitely change them. But especially the head tefillin, because especially if you have the nicer tefillin, which are separate all the way down to the bottom, right? We mentioned before that there's a special hiddur, special beauty in the mitzvah, to have the 4 compartments up here completely separate and not even glue, just being held together because they were pressed. Then over time, with heat and cold, they expand, they extract. You can definitely lose the perfect cube. So it's important to have the outside of your tefillin checked as well as the inside. Have a wonderful day. I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I'm going to be in New York, but God willing, we'll continue on Wednesday. Have a wonderful day, everybody.